Tune into the untold. Everything gonna unfold. Tune into the untold. Sit back, relax. Relax. Please. Sit back and relax. This is the untold.
So, this is another episode of The Untold. It's a very special one. Like I tell you all the time, all of them are special in a way, but for me, it's the relationships that I have with these people that make it really special for me to sit down and talk with them. And this guy, man, the industry knows him for sure. And he means so much to me, just like personally, business-wise. But I want to really get into his story, so you all can see why he means so much to the industry. That's my guy, Michael Huggy Carter. That's Huggy is here.
Yep, I'm here.
Y'all listen, and I had to start by saying this, Huggy. Man, you know what you mean to me, and just let me give a story just so you all understand. Huggy was the guy that basically put us in position to start doing Mary J. He called a guy that I was friends with, that he had been friends with for years, Zach Scott, who was the music director, and Zach Scott called me. That was 20 years ago. So just think of the role he's played. And like I said, the gig is one thing, but we'll get into it, just how much he is of an example, just how to live a certain way, and not to be perfect, but to strive to be a certain way as it relates to being a server to other people, and not wanting so much the glory, but just wanting to see other people shine. And that's one of the biggest things you show me, daily, whenever, and I appreciate you for that.
Well, I mean, I look at it that it's not always the house, but the foundation that is built on to make it stand. Everybody has their role. And sometimes that role is behind the scenes and not necessarily in front of the camera, but it's just as important as that person that's in front of the camera. Yeah. I found over the years that what we do is kind of what makes those people shine. And a lot of people overlook what happens behind the camera. They just see that person in front of the camera. They don't see the road crew, the musicians, the arrangers, the wardrobe people, the stylists, the truck drivers, the bus drivers that makes that person shine. And I came out of that world, so for me, it's always important to make sure that the support is taken care of. Because once again, without the foundation, the building can't stand. And there's a lot of great people, that's behind the camera that doesn't get their just due. But on the same hand, they're not looking for it. Their mindset is they want to make it work. Yeah. And that's what we do. I mean, that's what I do. That's what you do. We don't look for the glory. And the fruits of your labor will come to you. As long as you do what you do, and you give what you do 100%. No one can ask for anything else. And I tell people all the time, if you give your 100% and it's not good enough for another individual, that's their loss, not your loss. But yeah, Good to be here.
No,
know?
that needed to be heard again because, like you said, you do so much. I mean, we talk, so I know just the roles you play in some artists' career that people didn't even know you played. So for me, you've always come from a space of like, and you call me always Young Rexel. It's like Young Rexel. You do this because you love to do it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what used to always stick out to me. So so in what you're saying, knowing that you came from a certain side and now, you've kind of worked production and then part of the crew, like sound and everything, where did it start for you, like going into this business? Is this something you've always saw yourself doing as far as just being in music? Or how did it start for like young Michael Carter? That's what I want to know.
Well, I started as a musician. I played drums in Oakland, California, and played bass guitar, played a little bit of keys. And, I did the normal, local nightclub thing, 4 sets a night, 45-minute sets, and you end up making about $15 a night,
Yeah.
But it was something I loved to do. And it's one point, and I said, there's got to be something else than just being the musician, or the musical person behind the artist. So I got interested in the technical side of it, the engineering side of it, what makes a show work. Back then it was more of, recording records and so forth. So I started working at a small recording studio, a place called Star Maker Sound in Oakland. And I got hired as kind of like one of the maintenance guys there. And I used to stick my head into the control room and watch the engineer, what they were doing. Not jokingly told the engineer one day, I said, give me 3 months, I'm going to take your job. And he laughed about it. About a month and a half later, I had his job.
How old were you then?
I was 24, 25 at that point. And like I said, I used to go in late night and pull up the multi-tracks and mix, just take a shot at it, just see what it was, playing with the EQs, playing with the different, sound effects, just to see what they did. And the person that owned the studio, caught me one night, and he kind of took me up under his wing, Frank, and kind of started teaching me more about the audio part of it. And back then that's when he taught me, it's like, you don't mix with your eyes. He says, don't pay attention to levels, don't pay attention to what these gain structures look like, what this is doing. You mix with your ears, because that's what people are going to listen to. They're not going to listen to what you're looking at.
Right. Facts.
So I started doing studio engineering back then. Got more and more into it, and met a guy named Kirk Perkins, who was a drummer for the Whispers.
Right.
And I used to do a lot of his session work. And one night they were playing at the Circle Star Theater, and their front of house engineer got caught in a snowstorm. So he asked me if I would come out and mix the show. And I've never really mixed live before, or a studio. So, so what the hell, it can't hurt. All I can do is get fired, So I went out and mixed the show. After the show, I got called to the dressing room. And Nicholas Caldwell, who from that day forward became my mentor in this business. I guess the twins, their wives were at the show, and they was ranting and raving how good it sounded. So Nicholas asked me, he said, have you ever been on tour? I said, no. He said, would you like to? I said, well, possibly, when does it start? He says, how quick can you go home and get your bags packed? So that same night, went home, packed my bags, and that started my touring with the Whispers. And, like I said, Nicholas Caldwell, God rest his soul, it's like he taught me this business. And the one thing that he taught me, and I tell kids now whenever I'm talking to them, I write the 2 words down, music, business. And I ask them the question, which word has more letters? And they say, business. I said, always remember that. I said, in most cases, anybody can do music. It's the business that's going to give you your longevity. And especially nowadays in this world of music, we've lost real musicians, real entertainers, real singers to AI and just to, I hate to say it, just non-talented people. And it's a shame because, music is a way of escaping reality. It opens up your mind to a different universe. It's a different thing. It takes you away from what's going on a lot of times in your life right then. Whether you're down, whether you're depressed, if you're just not feeling life, music takes you into a different realm. That takes you away from that hurt, whether it's for a minute, whether it's for 5 minutes, whether it's for 5 hours, whether it's for 5 days. But that release is worth it. That's how I look at it. But once again, back to Whispers started it off for me on touring, mixing front of house. I mixed front of house for the Whispers. I was the drum tech for the Whispers. I drove the truck for the Whispers.
All on this same tour?
All the same tour. Same tour, yeah.
Wait, so how old were you when you actually left for this tour? You were in your 20s?
I was in my 20s,
okay.
Yeah, mid-20s.
And wait, so let me take a step back. When you were mixing or doing the sessions with the drummer, you were just mixing his drum sessions?
No, but I was doing his, he was doing songwriting.
Oh, okay.
So I was mixing the stuff that he was doing, what he was writing.
Okay.
Which we also became, a little bit later, writing partners.
Oh, nice.
On some things. Because like I said, I was a musician and I love arrangements. And I think I got caught earlier because I love big band type arrangements, strings, horns, harps, and so forth. I was a huge fan of Quincy, and I always used to say it's like Quincy was never per se the artist, but he was the mechanic behind such great music and great hits. And that was always something that I wanted to do at some point in my life, is just sit down and put some songs together where I might not actually be the musician, but bringing other musicians together to be able to create what I have in my mind. So that's pretty much how that came about. But like I said, rolling with the Whispers, out with them, and at that point it becomes networking. One, and two, your work speaks for itself. Yeah. I went from the Whispers, stayed with them for 9 years, doing their tours. But in the meantime, I met other people. And that's when I got the chance. I met my business partner, Alan Thompson, AT, which everybody knows.
Yeah.
And he brought me in to Patty. I started mixing Patti LaBelle.
So when you was doing the whispers, AT was with Patty?
No,
Or-
yeah, AT was with Patty
Okay,
at the
gotcha.
time, and that's how we met. We was on the show together.
Okay.
You know, so he got me to start mixing Patty. Then he pulled me in and started mixing Gladys. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I seemed like the female engineer.
Really?
You know, it's like Patty, Gladys, you know, Mary, Keisha Cole, In Vogue, Faith Evans.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting those phone calls. And I mean, for me, it was great, you know, because it wasn't really a path that I really saw myself going down as far as the engineering side of it. Because I was still a musician at heart.
Yeah.
But then there's something I kind of realized, and no disrespect to musicians, I was able to get more work as a technical person, as a musician, you know, and it might be because I wasn't that great of a musician,
Yeah.
you know. But I saw with, you know, the musical thing, it was such a cliquish, you know, community. You had to be in that certain clique to get work and keep work. Where from the technical side, there wasn't really that kind of clique. It's like either you're good as an engineer, or you're good as a drum tech, or you're good as this.
Yeah.
And you can stay working as long as you had the right personality that you took towards the job. But that's what kind of moved me out of being a musician and going the technical side of it. And I think for me, it was more creative for me from that side. And people, sometimes I say that, people is like, well, what does that mean? As an engineer, a lot of people don't understand. An engineer has to be more knowledgeable about a song than the actual musical director or the artist. You know,
Definitely.
and you can have the greatest band in the world of musicians on stage. Doesn't mean nothing if you don't have a good engineer.
Nothing at all.
You know, it does not translate. You know, so for a good engineer, you've got to know those nuances of a song, where that little build is, you know, where that little synth line is, that needs to stand out, you know, in the mix of it. So you got to learn the arrangements and really know the arrangements. You know, if you're going to be good at what you do at mixing. But like I said, I mean, you know, I went on, started touring from that time, and enjoyed it. Met a lot of people, been around the world, I don't know how many times. And, you know, people ask me sometimes, well, do you regret not, you know, still being in the music thing and so forth? I never regretted what I've done. I've met a lot of great people, have acquired, you know, friends, and you might have noticed I didn't say a lot of friends. Friends are really tricky, you know. You have a lot of associates, but you don't have a lot of friends. And when you do find that friend, you know, I say you cherish that relationship. Because a friend is not that person that when you see them say, hey, how's it going? And move. A friend is that person that calls you on the Monday to say, hey, what the hell's going on? Mm-hmm. You know, what you doing, what you're watching. Yep. That's a friend. It's not that person that calls you to see what gig you have for them or can you loan them some money, you know. It's that person that cares about you outside of the business life. And when you find that friend, cherish that friend. Cherish that relationship. Because like I said, we all have a lot of associates, but we have very few true friends. And I've been fortunate. I've got few friends, that I cherish that with. Of course, you as one of them.
Oh yeah, for sure.
We get on the phone. We talk about shit has nothing to do with music
At all.
That's what a friend in a relationship is about. And it's advice, both ways. I would give you advice. You would give me advice. So like I say, you cherish those friendships, and hopefully they don't dwindle over time. You pick up that phone, you make that wellness check every now and then. Even though we might not talk for 2 months, but every now and then it's like make that call, make that wellness check. Just don't let it linger and go away. I've watched you, like you said, for over 20 years grow.
Yeah.
I remember when we first met, SIR, New York.
04.
When you was in there rehearsing, I'm sitting there listening to you playing. And I remember Mary coming in and telling you, be yourself. Because you was worried about, what can I play like the last drummer that was here that she really liked. And I remember her saying, if I wanted the last drummer, he would still be here.
For sure.
I watched you grow over the years, not just as a musician, but as an entrepreneur, businessman, father, husband, and taking those responsibilities in those other walks of life, besides also taking over musical direction with Mary at a point. I'm supposed to be talking about me, not you, huh?
It's gonna always go, because again, a lot of my stories have you a part of them. So again, it feels good because again, like a lot of everything I'm attached to now, like a lot of the advice and stuff, like you said, I would just come in your production room, even in 04, we had just met. But I was just like, man, he's somebody I want to be around, because it wasn't about the gig for you. And I noticed that you would give me pointers like, yo, man, you should try this, or don't do that there, just see what happens. And I'm 22, 21. I'm a sponge. I'm like, okay, he knows. Let me try it. Go to Zach. He say something else, and like, let me try it. And y'all had already done what I wanted to do. Y'all were already who I wanted to be, if I'm honest. So for me, it's like there was nothing you all could have told me that I'd have been like, yeah, okay. So even with the generation thing, like you were saying, like just far as relationships and certain things, for me, I'm never going to be on you all's level. I'm going to always look up to you all, because there's just a certain respect. It's like meeting you all, it's like, man, these are guys I looked at from a distance. As soon as I met you, I was like, yo, man, I remember Drew Hill doing this and Zach, and you were just sitting there laughing like, yeah, man, it was good times. And I was excited. You know what I mean? But in those moments, you would say, all right, young Rexel, work on this. And this may not have something to do with the drums. You'd be like, let's get your, your attitude. Because at one point, I carried a lot of anger. And it wasn't, and I would tell people, it wasn't even to any individuals with an S. It was to nobody. It was because I knew that I had put in work, but there was certain work that wasn't being recognized. But it was nobody else's fault. It was all internal. And that's when you would say, whatever work you put in, it'll be seen. Boom. Not too long after that, the music director chair showed up, and he was like, I told you, just take it easy. But in those moments, like taking that on my back, like I appreciated you, and even today, for being there and just kind of steering me like, Rex, you got it, man. And also pulling my coattail. There were a lot of times you was like, okay, this ain't you, so what's really the issue?
Right.
You know what I mean? And those were the moments I was like, man, I'm really glad I got you and Toshi as well, like in my life, because it was a whole nother angle of you all weren't looking at me as, well, what can he do for this gig? The gig didn't matter.
No, and for me, the gig never. I won't say it never matters. I always look at the person behind the gig, and it's like being a production manager, being a tour manager. I learned from my father, when you put that thing behind your job description, manager, supervisor, director, there's a different responsibility that comes. And now in most cases, you have to make decisions that's best for the client, the company, the corporation, as it is for the individuals. I remember my father told me, they offered him supervisor job and he wouldn't take it because, for him to take that job, there's going to be times that he's going to have to make decisions that's going to affect his friendship with people. And I found that out the hard way, over the years, that, I find myself not trying to get close to people because I know as sooner or later, it's not if, it's when that person have to come into my office and I'm going to have to give them a plane ticket going home.
Yeah.
And it's hard. I mean, it's like when that happens, I actually really don't look at the individual because you've done something to get that plane ticket.
Right.
But what I do, I look at what's behind that individual, the kids, the wife, the mortgage, the rent, the car payments, because now all these things are going to be affected.
Yeah.
So when I have to make that call, I really want to make it 100% sure that the decision that has been made is fair, before we start cutting off all these other things. And there's been a few times that I had to change that decision from the client I was working with, after sitting and talking with the individual about what the issue was. So now you just straight out screw up.
Yeah. Don't care.
I think everybody deserves a second chance at things. Once again, not unless you just totally screwed up on something.
Yeah.
But I think everybody deserves a second chance. And in most cases, you can rectify whatever that issue was. But then if it comes back, I can't help you at that point.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's, I like, Patti LaBelle used to say something, it's like pass it on. I can't take this to the grave. Yeah. So whatever knowledge that I think I have, I like to try to pass it on, to that next person, to that next generation, to keep this thing going. And I try to, the best I can, I don't pick this guy over here and say, I'm going to pass it on to you. It could be this young lady over here or this guy here or whomever, I look for the person that has that glow in their eyes, like they want to learn, that they want to take it on, that this is not just a big party, that we're in, and, I like giving tidbits to people. The one thing I wish I had have done that I didn't do earlier is take on someone to really, really train them, and just give them as much as I know, and then watch them excel past me knowledge-wise. Because sometimes the teacher can become the student.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that's one of the regrets that I have as far as the industry is concerned. That I did not really do that. And I'm not saying that it's too late.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to retire. So, it's like, I mean, there's a lot of cats that's, that either I put on or have worked with me, and they call me all the time. It's like, hey, I got this question here. It's like, hey, I don't want to bother. It's never a bother.
Yeah.
It's never a bother. If I can help you on this phone call, or if you need some help, or you need to fly out and do something real quickly or whatever, never hesitate to call and ask. Because once again, I want to see that next generation excel, and to help them do that, we as the quote unquote OGs have to, we have to share.
Yeah.
We have to share our knowledge. We have to share our relationships. We have to share our connections. For this thing to continue. And at the same time, also, hopefully people learn that you've got to branch out in your thoughts and what you do. You just can't be that engineer or that lighting guy. You got to branch out and learn everything, and be that octopus, let the tentacles go out, because one day your hearing might go.
Yeah.
You're no longer an engineer, but shit, I knew what it looks like doing lighting. I can move over here if you learn, So, that old saying, a jack of all trades and a master of none is truly steadfast in this industry.
Yeah.
Be that jack of all trades. Learn it. But yeah, I mean, once again, going up for me, I've enjoyed what I've done. I enjoy what I do. I enjoy meeting people. And it's weird because I'm not the most talkative person.
By a long shot.
You ever want to meet. And, for me, I think you learn more by listening than talking. And that's why I sit down and I listen to a lot of conversations. I listen to a lot of people talk. And it's easier for me to figure that individual out by listening to them talk.
Yeah.
And what they're talking about. And it helps me know where they're trying to go, what they're trying to do, and if this is a good person or if this is a bad person, that you want to be around.
So wait, so in saying that, is that what made you switch? Because again, by you saying you're not really a talkative person, and then you were kind of locked into the engineering phase of it. Moving over to the management, production side, where did that switch happen? Because now you're in a position where you have to talk more. Am I right?
Well, yeah, I mean, it's like I was engineer for years touring, and then like I said, AT and myself became partners. AT's production manager.
And this was for Patty? Or
well, he's with Patty at the time, but he also had Patty. He had Gladys.
Okay, got you.
He had New Edition. He had Boys to Men. So, he was stretched out, in that realm. So it's kind of like, hey, I can't go do this Boys to Men show or whatever. Can you cover that for me from the production side? So that's what got me started doing more and more production, and kind of moving away from the engineering part. Well, I was still doing both. But I really started liking doing the production thing because it made you become creative. It made you have to think on your feet how to work out that problem that just popped up. But you got to work out that problem instantly.
Immediately. So what was your actual first production gig? Like artist, or do you remember?
Shit.
Well, odds are you were probably mixing the gig as well.
Well,
so
I was.
Okay, got you.
I was. And who was it? I mean, I was doing little production things before me and AT became partners, delving into the world. But as far as just doing hardcore production, it was actually Whispers, because I ended up taking over production for Whispers.
Okay.
But I was mixing at the same time also.
Do you know how many people do you think there's a group of people that can still do that today? Like, out of people and I'm not saying a certain age bracket, I'm talking about period. Like, to be able to, because now we know what comes with that. To be able to put a Chris Brown production up and go out there and do sound, or you get what I'm saying? Like, do you see that?
It is possible. It is possible. It depends on the team that you build around you. Do I recommend it? No.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when it's time to mix a show, your head's got to be there. You can't be in the middle of the show and all of a sudden somebody runs up to you and say, "Hey, one of the buses just caught fire. You got to go deal with it."
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, I would not recommend anybody trying to do both. Now this is on a small scale. Mm-hmm. Now, if you're doing some smaller theaters things or a club run or something, then that's different. But trying to go into arenas and so forth, I wouldn't recommend it. But even still, it's like, once again, it's the team that you surround yourself with. You're only as good as a team that you put around yourself. Yeah. The tour that I'm on now, I've got 3 young ladies that work with me. I should say we work together. Each of them has their function. And I've been blessed with these 3 that I can walk away and concentrate on other things, and I have to look over my shoulder and worry about it. Because all 3 of them are experts at what they're doing.
Yeah.
And at the same time, I'm trying to pass off as much knowledge as I have to them. Mm-hmm. So if next week I say, "Hey, I'm done. I can walk away. I don't want to do this anymore," all 3 of them have the knowledge to start running their own tours. And also knowing that I'm always at the other end of a phone. Mm-hmm. They have questions. It's joking that they call them Huggy's Angels. There's 3 of them. But it's the tour that I'm on now with Usher. I could not do this tour without those 3. And it's funny, I refused to do this tour without those 3. Mm-hmm. When this came about, I told them, I have a team. This is a team that I have to go work with. If I can't work with this team, I'm good. I don't need to tour.
Yeah, because you out the gate knew what would be the call, and you knew the people. You get what I'm saying? Some people don't move like that, because honestly, that's something I've learned from you. I mean, amongst a lot of other things, but you always like, Rex, you have to be comfortable. Mm-hmm. Like a team, and that's one thing. Like, if we go back to the Mary situation, just far as a band, I was like, yo, man, we're a team. Like, ain't none of us superstars. Right. Like, when we walk in the venue, I want people to be like, oh, there goes such and such. Like, I want them to see us as a basket. Like we here. And that's what I noted from you. Like, when you go in certain situations, you was like, yeah, that's the manager for that. That's my guy for that. And I was like, oh, yeah, he's not playing. And it puts you in the mind space of bring who you need to make sure, one, you can get the job done. Because that's really what you're being hired for. Don't bring out, you always just say, don't bring out people you want to hang with.
Exactly.
Bring out people you want to get the job done with and make money with.
Yeah, exactly. You can't be a carpenter without a hammer and a screwdriver.
Not on no level.
And it's the same thing. Like I say with these 3 young ladies, it's like they're such a foundation for me. Because there's sometimes I don't see everything, and that's what you have to be able.
We used to think you did.
As a quote unquote leader, you have to be open to the things, suggestions from people because of things that you don't see or can't see. Or sometimes you might, you're in such a, I've always done this way, but there is another way of doing it possibly. So as a quote unquote leader, you have to be open to the people that surround you that you trust. That if they suggest something, listen to it. Play it out in your head, and it might end up being a much better way of doing it. It might be a better way they figure out how to build this mousetrap than what you did. And also within it, times have changed. Technology have changed. So there might be things that I'm not keeping up with. Being a little old in the tooth in some of them, that they see, technology-wise that might make something work better.
Yeah.
So you've got to listen. Once again, you've got to have a good team around you. You've got to be open to listen to your team. Yes, at the end of the day, I'm the last decision. Because I'm the one that has to stand in front of that artist and say, this is why we did this.
Yeah.
Right. And, I never let anybody on my team take the fall for anything. I take the fall. Because once again, we're working together, but, you're bringing to me your thoughts, ideas of what you're doing. And I'm saying, okay, let's move forward. So if something doesn't work, I gave you the okay to do that. You just didn't go out and do it on your own.
Yeah.
So, I'm going to take the fall for it if it goes wrong. And in most cases, when it goes right, we don't get the credit for it anyway. Somebody else all of a sudden,
that's for sure,
who is nowhere around takes that credit. But if that's what you're in this for, to get the pat on the back, wrong job, wrong business.
Seriously, Yeah.
So and like I tell them all the time, when you have a good team around you, me as the quote unquote leader, I can afford to get put out the building. And that's why I tell people all the time, don't go arguing with the building manager. Don't go arguing with the head of security in the building. That's going to put you out the building.
Yeah.
Let me do it. Because by the time we walk into the venue, my job is pretty much done. It's now what they're doing that makes that day work. So I can get kicked out the building, go sit on the bus, watch TV,
show still
and be on the walkie-talkie. Yeah. Show's going to run smooth. But if you, as my drummer, gets kicked out the building, we're screwed. Yeah. As a drummer. But you as a musical director, because you've built a great team, could get kicked out the building.
Yeah.
Because everything's going to work, So it's important. Build that team, build that, people that you depend on, people that you trust. Sometimes every now and then you make a bad pick.
Tell me about it.
You make a bad pick, it happens. And it's not the mistake that happens now, is what you do after that going forward. Like saying, this person didn't really work out as you thought you was going to be on your team. So you just have to move on and find the next person.
Yeah.
And once again, for me, I don't always look for the best.
Yeah, that's another thing I learned.
Because
we used to say that, I used to be like, "What do you mean?" I mean, this was really, really early on. I'm like, "You don't want." He was like, "Hear me out."
No, I mean, because a lot of times the best are always the hard-headed, because in their mind they know everything, and especially when it comes to touring, you're living with somebody for 3 months, 4 months.
Yeah.
So that best might have an ego that you just can't live with. I always look for the person that's eager to learn, that wants to learn, that doesn't look at this as this big party situation. They know it's a job. They know they won't get a pat on the back. But their gratification, is like for me, myself, gratification for me happens twice on every show day. Once when the lights go down and the show starts and you hear the audience applause. And the second time is when the lights go up at the end of the show, no one was hurt and people are happy walking out the building. Then I know we've done our job correctly, and that's for me, that's what makes me feel good. It's like even today, I'll go out and watch the first 2 songs of the show.
They won't see you again.
And you won't see me again until the last song of the show.
Yeah.
Because everything that happens in between, it's not that I don't care, but
Yeah.
whatever. I've seen the beginning, I've seen the end. I mean, even now, somebody said, "Well, did you see what?" No. Well, doing this part of the show, I have no idea what you're talking about.
That's you all.
Because I've never watched the show.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like I said, surround yourself with good people.
Yeah. How did you feel like making these type of, because Huggy, there's pretty much nobody that I know of that I'd be able to say that you either haven't worked with or in some way directly had an effect on how their show was put together, how their business was ran, anything. I mean, I know artists that you found money that they had stashed in companies. That's, I know Huggy, and it's like these are millions of dollars that are sitting there that these people have no clue, because, like you said earlier, they came in and did the music. The whole business side went out. They didn't understand. So you get what I'm saying? Like, you got somebody over here, you done got them millions that they already had but didn't know. And you know what I'm saying? Like, you have a whole different outlook on what you do for these artists that goes farther than the stage.
Well, it goes back to the gentleman I was talking about earlier, Nicholas Caldwell with the Whispers. Nick taught me the business.
Was he the production manager for the?
No, Nick Caldwell was one of the Whispers. The one that had the big beard.
The tallest one?
Yeah, the tall one.
Yeah, got you.
Beard.
Okay, cool. I got you.
Nick taught me the business of the music industry. He was the one that drilled into my head. It's not just about the music. It's about the business. And over the years, he taught me where the money is, how to get the money, how to go after the money, where monies are hidden by these companies, that people don't pay attention to. The average artist then, and especially also now, all they want to know from the business manager, can I go out and get that new Mercedes? Can I go out and get that new Rolex? And never asking the question, has my taxes been paid? What was my profit or loss this month? They never ask those kind of questions. all they want to know is, can I go out and buy this and go out and buy that? And we see more and more about how these artists who's made millions and millions of dollars go broke. All of a sudden, oh, such and such owes $12.5 million to the IRS. It's like, and people always say, it's like, well, we hired this person to take care of that. That's true. But my mother used to say, nobody can count your money better than you can.
Yeah.
And to say that is, I'm not saying that you are a business manager and but get involved with your money. It's like, ask the question every now and then. Let me see the books every now and then. Explain to me why I just made $12 million, but I only got $150,000 now. Explain to me, how do we get there?
Yeah.
And that's where the business part of this comes in. Well, a lot of artists don't understand publishing, and royalties and licensing and things like that. Where there's monies, case in point, I just got a call a week ago from someone who says, hey, can you get in touch with, I won't say name, blah, blah, blah. We got a check for $1 million sitting here for, and we have not been able to find her. And it's
Jesus.
Publishing check,
Yeah.
But yeah, I can find her, but I'm not getting a cut out of it. But well, this is the last number that I have on her. Reach out to her. I don't know what that ever happened. But it's those kind of things. You hire a business manager to take care of your business. But once again, you've got to every now and then ask about your money and just, Terry was that McGuire, that guy.
Oh, Jerry
McGuire.
Yeah.
Show me the money.
Show me the money.
And because, our favorite artists, we sit down and had a conversation about that one day with me, her, and her ex. Mm-hmm. And they didn't understand sometimes how money used to work. How a promoter was giving them so much money, and they knew they weren't doing the business. Mm-hmm. And I had to sit down and explain to them how you're a write-off for that promoter. Yeah. So even though you're getting that money, but he's getting that write-off because he needs that write-off. But just because you're getting the money doesn't necessarily mean it's helping you.
Yeah.
Because if somebody's putting you in a 15,000-seat arena, and you're only good for 4,000, 5,000 tickets to be sold, he's not making his money, but what does it do for you as an artist to walk out on that stage and just see 1/3 of the building full? So yeah, you're getting your money, but it's crushing your ego at the same time.
Yeah.
But it comes out back to that money. It's like, understand, try to understand where that money is and how to get your fingers on it. Have your business manager, once again, explain to you why you're either losing money or the money that you're making on interest and so forth. And it's like, business managers can be some of the most unscrupulous people also, unfortunately. And I explained to her, it's like, let's say this is your business manager. You got $10 million in the bank. The only question you ever want to know is, can I go buy that new Mercedes or that new Rolex? So you're not paying attention to the money that you have.
Yeah.
So me as your business manager, let's say, I'm going to take $2 million out of your account. You're not going to know the difference. I'm going to move this over to my account. Okay, you still got your $2 million on paper, but now this $2 million have been moved to that business manager's account. What does that mean? If he's garnering 5% interest on your money, so if it's $1 million at 5% interest a year, it's at 50 grand. You know, if you move 2 million over, that's 100 grand for the year. Now he just did that to you, but he's got 5 other clients that he can do that to also. You know, so now your 5, you know, that's 100 grand per client. You got 5 clients. That's $500,000 in interest that he's making off of your money that could have still been in your own account. But you don't know because you can go buy the Mercedes when you want to.
Absolutely.
Because you're not paying attention to the other money. What does that do for the business manager, that $500,000? That $500,000 just end up paying for 3 of his employees that's not coming out of his pocket. He's paying for it now out of the interest that he's making off of your money. You know, so, you know, and it's like when you see the thing, it's like such and such just went to jail because of tax evasion, or, you know, they owe the IRS $2 million. You know, and this is like I told our old friend, I said, if there's never any other check that you ever sign, the one check that you need to sign every year is your tax check. You know, yeah, you can do it by wire. No, I don't want to do it by wire. I want to see a hard check that I'm signing my name to, that I'm paying the IRS $800,000 or whatever it is, you know, for this year's taxes. And then you can go ahead and you go mail that check.
Yeah.
If nothing else in your whole year, just do that one thing. You sign that check and you go put it in the mail. You know, so then that way 3 years from now you can't, well, I thought such and such was paying this. Yeah, but now such and such is not in hot water. You know, you are. You know.
And then like you said, at a certain point, then it becomes basically too late. Now either the money you owe you definitely don't have, or you just got to go do time in jail, basically. So I mean, when you making millions, I guess if you aren't looking at it in the way of how you're talking, like you're only looking at, okay, what can I buy? None of that other stuff matters. Seemingly. Mm-hmm. You get what I'm saying? And then by the time it hits you, it's like, oh my God, like it's nothing I can do.
Yeah, I mean, 'cause, you know, in this industry, every artist has a shelf life.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for
you know,
sure.
Just like any other, whether you're a sports or, you know, pro wrestler or, you know, basketball player, you got a shelf life. You only got so much time you can do this in most cases. Most artists have a shelf life of about 4 years.
You said 4?
About 4 years on average.
Oh, jeez.
You know, greater artists might get 7 to 8. And then you have those very few exceptions that's got the 15, 20-year career.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's unfortunate. You go back and look at some of those artists, some that I've worked with, and I see how they're living. And it's like, damn, I got more money than you do. You know, yeah. And you know, and it's like, you know, I tell my daughter all the time, you know, I beat into her head. It's not what you make; it's what you spend. You can make $1 million, but if you spend $1,001, you're broke.
Right.
You know?
Very much so.
So, you know, always keep that in mind. And it goes back to, as you were saying about, you know, money's where for artists, it's like sometimes you just got to know where to look, you know, in that publishing realm, in that licensing realm, where there's monies that's taken away. You know, an attorney, guy Ron Sweeney, taught me a lot about that. How to find monies within the record label, within the publishing companies. You know, because, you know, with the publishing and the label, there's a certain amount of dollars they put to the side as you're selling records that goes into a little small fund to the side to cover some expenses that's unforeseen. But some of those expenses might never come to fruition.
Yeah.
So that money's just still sitting there, and you got your platinum album, you sold 1 million records or whatever. It's a nice little chunk of change that's sitting there, and most artists don't know about it.
Yeah.
And the record label ain't gonna tell you about it.
Right.
So that's when you get great attorneys like Ron Sweeney that knows where that is, how to get it.
Yeah.
And once again, a lot of artists don't think that. I don't think about that, and artists are just like, once again, great football players or just football, basketball, whatever. They never think it's going to end. And, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
So they don't look into the future. And they're living the high life right now. And then all of a sudden, all the stuff just stops. And you still got the same bills on that 12-bedroom mansion that you're leasing or renting, that you've got that 5-year contract for, and you're only a year into it, and all your stuff is just dried up now, so you got all these bills you're still gonna have to pay, but you never look forward to that.
To it. But that's another thing because you remember when we tour, it was like starting to make that money at a certain age for me, and then it was like you would get to like the last month of tours, I'll be like, Huggy, so you said we only have 4 checks left? You'd be like, yes, 4.
Then you want to start saving.
Yeah, and it's like you think about it, but it's like something's coming to an end. And depending on where your mindset is, you just never lock in. So it's like, that's a big deal. I mean, even now, for sure, for some musicians, like you said, athletes, whatever, it's like you have to come to a certain point. And that's one thing, another thing I've always looked up to you about. You was like, yo, man, you have to live so you can live after this is over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? You out here buying all these glasses and shoes.
Tennis shoes, Guess I have a whole bunk full of brand new boxes of tennis shoes.
Man, you'd be like, you can only wear one pair.
Right.
I was like, yeah, you right. But again, it's like in those learning moments, what I put it to you like this, Hug, it's like the way people started thinking during COVID and post-COVID, you were one of those people that thought like that previous to COVID. You know what I'm saying? It was like even for me, like some stuff that happened during COVID, even situations, it just made me think different. Like, okay, I got to approach this different, but you've always had a certain mindset, should I say.
Yeah, it's the rainy day mindset, There's always going to be a rainy day.
Yeah.
Now the question is are you prepared for it? Mm-hmm. Is the umbrella sitting next to the door?
Yeah. Right.
So it's like, do I need a 10 pair of tennis shoes? Or maybe I just buy 2, and the money that I have for the other 8, I'm going to stick over to a different account. Mm-hmm. And I just wear these 2 until they wear out, and then I go get 2 more.
Yeah.
My wife and I, we are big fans of the young lady, the finance lady, Susie Orman.
Oh, yeah.
That's on television.
Yeah.
And she always used to beat into your brain, have an emergency account of like 6 months of being able to pay your bills. And we live by that. Just prior to, to COVID and so forth, the pandemic. And it's like my wife, she's not cheap. She's frugal. So she, hard pressed to get her to spend money.
Yeah.
I'm the spender in the house, So she is the one that takes money and puts it to the side and puts it away and puts it over. And we make sure that we put money away in accounts that's hard to withdraw from.
Gotcha.
So we were blessed, when the pandemic hit, from a financial standpoint, that we had listened to Susie Orman and had an emergency fund, that we were able to tap into. And then also with a couple of different government things that they did as far as working and being able with your business, to get monies back. We were able to jump into that also. But we were fortunate enough to be able to keep our heads above water, which unfortunately a lot of people weren't. And this goes back to artists. I go back to Nick Caldwell. I remember he was talking about money thing one day, and he says, "Huggy, you got to understand, if something happens and you lose, you don't have any work, and you lose whatever it is that you pay for." He says, "Now think about me, 10 times that." He says, because the same thing could happen to me also, and not be able to pay this, but just on a much larger scale. Definitely. From where you're living right now, and that's when he really beat into my mind. Learn to live within your means. Yeah. You don't have to have the newest iPhone every year. You don't have to have the newest Jordans that comes out every other month. Yeah. Just live within your means. Be happy. I'm not saying being just cheap and don't do nothing. Yeah. Because you got to enjoy life. But just try to live within your means. Once again, can't make $1 million and spend $1.1 million. Yeah. You're broke.
Or spend $1 million before you have it.
That also.
Because now you started off in the negative.
That also. And it's like a lot of people, I tell people, it's like what we do, we don't have retirement accounts. We don't have health insurance accounts and things like that. But you need it. When it comes to a retirement account, it's like if you take 10% of what you make every week and put it into that account, once again, that's hard to withdraw from. Because if it's easy to withdraw from, you can always go pull
always.
from it. But if you got to jump through a lot of hoops to withdraw from it, it's going to be there. And just start that. Get you a high interest savings account, and just put that money in there every month, and you'll be surprised at how that grows with you not touching it over several years. Yeah, you'll truly be surprised.
I think the patience of it is what stops a lot of people too. Because like how you just said, a few years or a couple people, like a few years. It's like a few years is tomorrow. Yeah. Nowadays, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, and you set it up that it's an automatic payment out of your account into that account. It's like they said, you treat yourself as a monthly bill. Yeah. You have to be paid. So you become a monthly bill. And that's what that is. And like I said, 5%, whether 10% of what your weekly check is, whatever it is, just have it sent over there. Get in and find health insurance, which is crazy important. Yeah. A lot of people, it's very expensive. It is. But if you can afford it, to do it, do it. Because it's even more expensive when you had to go to that hospital. That one time, can wipe you out completely. I don't want to spend this $500 a month in health insurance. Okay, fine. But then you go to the hospital, and all of a sudden you get that bill for $450,000.
That $500 a month,
That
all of a sudden
$500
looks like a drop in the bucket.
Exactly.
Yeah.
You know, but yeah, I mean, it's get that account over there. Get your health insurance done. You know, and like I said, at the same time, try where you can, enjoy life. You know, once a month, take your spouse out to a great dinner, great dinner, because one person would think, "Damn, that was an expensive dinner." The other person is going to think, "I had a good time. I'm going to remember this dinner."
Yep.
Which one is more important in the long run?
Absolutely.
You know, so like I said, every night to go out, do that splurge and enjoy yourself. Don't buy tennis shoes every week, but
no, it's like it's funny because on our off days, and like I said, we were so young in the game. On our off days, we run into you and Toshi. Like, what y'all about to do? You be like, "Hey man, we about to find a good restaurant there. We gonna chill for the rest of the day." Here we are with all these
Foot Locker bags.
You was like, come on. You was like, and it's like, now that I think about it, like, I remember the first time we came to Chicago off tour. We're on tour with Mary, and I guess our show was here. But you pull up to I hadn't been home in a couple months. Huggy, we pulled up at the hotel, and I had to get 2 hotel cards, but that had nothing to do with the luggage. It was all stuff I had bought.
Right.
Because now here Tiff is about to come get me from the hotel. I got leather jackets. I got shoes. And she was like, why? And what's funny is I had no answer for it. The only answer in my head was because I can afford it. And in reality, I really couldn't afford it. I could just afford it at the time.
At the time.
You see, so it's like I look at things like you never catch me doing nothing. It's like I still like to buy, but nowhere near. It's like you said, it has to be like, okay, I'm gonna save up my money for that. But to just go out, like, you've never been like that. But
it's everybody has to go through that.
Yeah,
they have to go through that phase. Especially in what we do in touring. So you've got to, because on one hand, when you look at it, we make a decent weekly check when we're touring.
Oh yeah, yeah.
We make a decent check, but once again, if you spend $1 more than what you make, you're broke.
Yeah.
If you don't put nothing to the side for that rainy day, it's gonna rain. You're gonna get wet.
Yeah.
We have to learn. And it's a learning process. And in most cases, hopefully, that first tour, you learned.
Yeah.
That when you come home, you have no money. You've learned. But now the next tour go out, I know now what to do. Hopefully you were smart enough to learn.
Yeah.
Soul
is heavy on that. He's, oh my God. He'll just only spend per diem.
And I know a lot of people that ends up trying not to spend much of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
I know my worst mistake the first time I went to Vegas, working with Gladys. We was there for 3 weeks. They gave us all of our per diem the first week. They shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
Because I'm in the casino. And I was broke by the 3rd day.
Come on, Hug.
So I was in the employee cafeteria every day.
Yeah.
But I learned my lesson.
Mm-hmm.
I learned my lesson. Shit, like I said, Swole live off his per diem. That's a smart man.
Very.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, because you automatically put yourself on the budget. If I'm getting $50 a day, 7 days a week, that's $350. I got $350 to spend for the week on my food. Now I'm working 4 nights out of that week, so I can eat 4 nights at the venue.
Absolutely.
You know, so I only have to
Catering
worry
will show
about
right up.
I only have to worry about 3 nights that I got to worry about eating outside the venue. So my $350 now has to go across 3 days. You know, and I'm not spending $100 a day eating.
Yeah.
Because more than likely you're on the road, you go on the Subway, Potbelly, you know, McDonald's or whatever.
Yeah.
Because you're not going out for that real meal.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you can walk away still with $100, $150 a week out of your per diem still in your pocket.
Yeah, that's facts.
You know,
I wish I'd have thought like that earlier.
but yeah, but then, you know, that $150 that you thought you saved, now you're at the bar.
Yeah.
You
Oh
know?
my God. What?
You know, so that's gone.
Yeah.
You know, but once again, even with that, I mean, you know, even with that though, as long as you know it's $350 and you spend $350 for the week, you're good.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and out of that $350, if you spent $120 of it at the bar with the guys, that's cool because now you've got memories of that little bit of time this guy was hanging at the bar, kicking the shit about whatever.
Yeah.
You know, it's fun. You know, it's because you got to be able to enjoy yourself out there also. So, you know, sometimes that's worth it, you know. But I see people spend their per diem and their paychecks on stupid shit.
Yeah.
You know, stupid stuff.
So let me ask you this, Hug. Do you have a favorite? Like, would you rather be out mixing or would you rather be out doing what you're doing now? I'm talking about like in a perfect world, just as far as if you had to choose.
No, I mean, I think I would rather be back out mixing.
You would?
Yeah. I think mixing touches on a creative part of your brain.
Yeah.
That makes you feel that you're helping create something.
Yeah. So do we get to tell them who you working with, who asked you to mix one time? And well, not one time, but could you? And I think you mixed the show before, and then they wanted you to mix it all the time.
You know, certain people are pushing those kind of buttons right now. But yeah, I mean, and here's the thing about me for mixing, and this might sound strange. I would never want to mix a band that uses Pro Tools.
Yeah, I know how you are about that.
To me, Pro Tools is cheating.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you have such great musicians. Mm-hmm. You have such great musicians. You know, I mean, I understand from one side with from Pro Tools that I can hire less amount of musicians. You know, because I've got to cover so many parts to be played. But you know, it goes back to the beginning of when you walked into the studio to record this song, you know, and whoever that producer was, when they try to put all this stuff into your song, you know, and it overrides who you are, the talent that's singing this song. Yeah. You know, I listen to the shows of people mixing now, and it's like, it's so Pro Tools heavy, you know. But then they have a part in their shows where they're just doing the straight band,
And it goes,
and it's just a refreshing thing, you know.
You feel that. What's funny, and I lie to you not, Huggy, even with you saying that, people know how serious I take programming. Like, that's just something I've always loved to do, for the reasons of loving the sound that comes from the records. But getting around you used to be like, y'all have the instruments up here. So, like, you would literally sit there and be like, I hear what's going on the song. Can you all recreate that? So that's what really is one of the pushes that got me into, now I'm trying to trigger everything. You know, you got Monty, you just got certain guys that's like, no, we could pull this off. Now, again, There's some stuff we just can't recreate, depending on what type of artist you with. But you really gave us that thought. Like, I'm like, nah, I'm going to play this. So then when people come sit in for you, they like, wait, they were playing all this? It was like, yeah, we were. And you had a lot to do. I lied to you not. You had a lot to, because you was like, what do y'all have these keyboards up here? You was like, Rex, what do you got these little pads for if you aren't going to play? You know what I mean?
Right.
So you've definitely always had that outlook far as wanting to hear the band.
Right. I mean, that's why every now and then I used to walk around and push that space bar on the Pro Tools and stop it. And all of a sudden the band would stop that. Hey, wait a minute. You're in Madison Square Garden and your Pro Tools just went down.
Well,
what you going to do?
Yeah.
You guys just going to stop it and freak out?
Yeah, and look to the side. Like, what we doing?
And it's, and that's why, for me, I look back at groups and artists like Luther, and Nat Alley Jr., if you listen to a Luther record and then listen to Luther live, it's the exact same thing. Exact same parts, so forth. And I think with a lot of musical directors sometimes and these live artists, they're trying to over polish the hit song. It's like the song was a hit
before you got to it.
Before you got to it. Why do you need to add all these different string arrangements and horn arrangements and this and that to a song that's already a hit?
Yeah.
And I understand you trying to put your little seasoning on it, but just don't take it so far out of context from what the original song was.
Yeah.
And and that's why for me mixing it, I would never really want to mix groups that has Pro Tools, a lot of Pro Tools.
Yeah.
And a lot of these musical directors misunderstand the use of Pro Tools. Pro Tools is not, all it is just a little seasoning for little things that you could not actually play because the keyboard player only has two hands.
Yeah. Right.
So you might want to add a little bell part here and there, and that's it. That's why, I was honored to be able to mix Anita Baker. It was an honor for me. It was a major honor for me to mix Prince. But in both scenarios, straight live band.
Yeah.
I don't think I ever mixed a band that used Pro Tools or sequencing.
Really?
Well, sequencing possibly back before they had Pro Tools with Zach and Drew Hill.
Yeah, absolutely. Which those shows was, I got to give shout out to Zach, because Zach he's one dude that he definitely doesn't get the credit he deserves. But even far as a programmer, like Drew Hill, that was one of those bands.
Black man, Zach.
Oh my God. That was one, rest in peace to Gerard.
Yes.
Oh my God. Like,
Zach would get behind the MPC and have one of those Akai samplers, and that shit be knocking so hard. It'd be knocking so hard.
People don't understand. I'm talking about, I would look at the Drew Hill sets and just be like, they roll his rack out, and they would hit, it was such a different sound, and Gerard would just be like, bro, if I'm playing the snaps from the record here, they don't need to be in the track. And that's when I was like, okay, let me figure this out, because I want to be missed. If I'm not on the drums and you start the track, I don't want it to sound like I'm up there.
Exactly.
Because then what am I doing up there?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you got Marcus and certain guys, it's like whatever they're playing, they don't want in the track. One, it actually makes the engineer's job easier.
No, exactly.
You know what I'm saying? And for two, it makes you valuable. Like if I'm playing claps, if I miss the claps, then I miss them. I don't want the claps to be in the machine. And that's one thing I learned with you. You was like, nah, man. Like, leave that up to the engineer to make sure he can hear your stuff.
Yeah. And it's like, it's like, from the engineering side, mixing, you hear these bands on stage, and they've got these 2 or 3 different kick drums going. I got this 808 going. I got this thud, and then I got the hard hitting here. It's like, why?
Yeah.
It's like, okay, cool. It was cool on the record.
Yeah.
But now you're going into an arena, big cavernous place, and you got these sub-low things happening that's just rolling around the room. Mm-hmm. For what reason?
Yeah.
Now, it might sound good in your ears.
Definitely.
Right. But what about the 15,000 people that paid a ticket, for, and they kind of go through that now. It's like, get rid of that. It doesn't need to be there.
Yeah.
Nobody in the audience is going to say, well, I didn't hear that woo, woo. And keep it clean. And it goes back to, like I said, back to Luther, I used to, I was on tour with Luther several times with support acts. Mm-hmm. And the guy that used to mix Luther, Mark Smith, I thought was like one of the most incredible engineers because every night it sounded just like the record, and, he taught me, him and the musical director would get together, and it's like they'll find a kick drum sound, if they had the trigger, they'll find a kick drum sound and use that kick drum through every song. Oh. They'll find a key bass sound, even though it might not be the exact same as the record.
Yeah.
But they'll find that key bass sound that still has the body but has the cut in the arena, so it just doesn't sound money.
Live, yeah.
And he'll use that key bass sound every song that they got to play key bass on.
Wow.
Because nobody in the audience is going to say, well, that's not, that sawtooth,
right,
digital,
right.
analog sound that's supposed to have been, So they go in from the beginning, looking at what it's going to take, how it's going to sound in the arena, and unfortunately, like I said, a lot of the young engineers nowadays, they don't look for songs. Every song has its own life. They just look at loud.
Yeah.
And I tell somebody, it's like, when it comes to engineering, for me, like I say, every song is different. Every song has its own feeling, its own life. And for me, it's always been drums. Drums are the biggest part of a mix to me that changes the characteristics of every individual songs. This ballad, I might want a nice lush reverb on the snare. But on this up-tempo, I want this gated snare.
Yeah.
But that lush reverb is not going to work on the up-tempo song.
Right. Yeah.
So it's like, engineer, you got to reach over and change reverbs every song, and set up different sounds for every song, But a lot of the young cats, it's like their whole thing is like the exact same reverb on every song.
Yeah.
Now the song has no life no more, its own life. And their whole thing is just like loud. Yeah. Loud. How loud can I get it? How loud can I get it?
And is that what's funny is if your mix is low, granted you have to have a certain volume in certain places, but if your mix can sound phenomenal low, you're a real, like with James and Stax, who's right there doing the recording. Stax is my engineer here. Mm-hmm. So me, like with James out there, like I'll sit down with Stax. We go through every trigger sound, like if we got the time, that is. Because my thing is, if there are different sonics that we have to use, at least let me make it easier for you to mix on your end. Mm-hmm. So if it's a certain kick we got to use on this song, cool. If this one won't work for this, let's get the volumes correct. Or let me figure out what the EQ on this trigger so it helps your mix not jump out here. But some music directors and even drummers, keyboard players, whatever, they don't go that extra mile. It's like, yo, let's just get up here and kill it. No. You got to prep. You got to prepare.
Well, also, and when it comes for engineers, when it comes to samples of drums, or even just your keyboard stuff and your sounds of your keyboards, you know, when Yamaha created that grand piano sound that's in your Yamaha keyboard, it's already EQ'd and done how it should sound.
Right.
So a lot of engineers, they'll take that and then start EQing that. And it's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You've just taken away from what they spent years of research and and development on, to start re-EQing it,
Yeah.
Same thing with drum samples. It's like that tom sound sounds great out of the machine because that's the way they developed it. So now why do you have to start putting some high pass filters and so forth? And that's, no.
Right.
A good engineer, it's like, especially with drums, I'll listen to a kick drum, and before I start EQing, I'm going to walk up on the stage and move that microphone
Make sure it's
into a different location. And then let me listen to it again. Okay, now I'll start EQing if I need to.
Got you.
You know.
So what does that do for you? To make sure the kick drum sounds good without it first?
No, it's walking up listening to the drum and see how the drum naturally sounds.
Right, that's what I was saying. Okay.
Before you start tearing it apart, Same thing with snare drum. It's like you sit there hit snare drum, but hit it in a couple of different places.
Yeah.
And really hear the tone, and then you mic, and then you start working on it from there.
Yeah.
People just automatically a lot of times just jump in and start EQing it, And like I said, when it comes to sample stuff, it's already done and processed, and really how you want it.
Yeah.
So once you start throwing compressors and gates on sample stuff, you're taking away from the dynamics of what that sound is.
Yeah.
So like I said, but going back to it, I mean, I would love going back to mixing things that had non-pro tools. It was just a straight live band.
So what would you suggest to because the things that aren't certain artists at that time, they didn't use a lot of programs. So what would be your suggestion in the days we are now, where it is more electronic based, but from an engineer's perspective, like what would be your suggestion because some of those sonics, some of these artists definitely be wanting to hear, but there are ways around it. You know what I'm saying?
They're wanting to hear it because it's in the record that when they're sitting in, like we're sitting right now in this multi-million-dollar studio, it sounds great coming through those speakers that you're sitting here in this multi-million-dollar controlled atmosphere.
Yeah.
It sounds great because they're on stage with their in-ears.
Yeah.
But once again, they're not thinking about the 15,000 people that's not on in-ears. And it's like, what do you need from the song and the record for it to translate? For you still to know that it's still rock steady.
Yeah. Right.
And not some other song,
Yeah.
What's needed in that mix to stand out for you to be, so you can automatically recognize what song that is and know what it's supposed to be. Once again, it goes back to, to make an engineer's life easy, if the musical director is not trying to add on so much other stuff.
Yeah.
And, a lot of times musicians or musical directors, unlike engineers, don't understand it's a frequency thing. You only can get so much into that frequency range before it just starts getting muddled.
Yeah.
Whether it's the low end, whether it's the mids, whether it's the high end, there's only so much you can get in there before it just starts becoming confusion. So when you start adding all these strings and all these horns, and then you got vocals that's all in that same mid-range place, something's going to lose.
Right.
Something's going to lose.
Yeah.
So then that's when it becomes the engineer's job to become the new musical director out front. You don't know, but you know that horn line that you had? I just muted that. You know. You don't know those 2 kick drums, those 3 kick drums. I'm only using that one.
Yeah.
You know. Now, you want to play a stick because everybody wants to always hear the show afterwards, and they always want to hear. So you never, okay, this is a secret I shouldn't be telling. You never record a show off of what your house mix is.
No.
You know, because when you want to start taking out certain things like that, the first thing the musical director, well, where is this at? Well, where is that at? So for me, I always record the show off of an aux bus.
Gotcha.
So that way I keep everything in the mix, you know, that's going to your recording.
Yeah.
You know, because I've seen so many engineers over the years get fired off of show tapes.
Oh, from giving, absolutely. Yeah, giving them that house mix.
Yeah. You know, so.
But what reason was it for? Was it because they were muting things, or because overall it just didn't?
It might have just been a suck mix.
Yeah, gotcha.
You know, but see, with that though, once again, it's like you're in a theater, and your bass player's on the stage with his big ass amp and subs behind him, playing loud. What does that mean? You're not putting as much of that bass into the PA system.
Yeah.
So now when you listen to the recording, you don't hear that much bass. You know, and it's like, well, why don't I hear bass? Because you were so loud on stage.
Yeah.
I didn't have to put as much into the system. You know, same thing with guitars or whatever, you know. And that's why, once again, you never record off the house mix, you know. Especially when that bass player or that guitar player is the musical director.
Yeah, oh, horrible. You know? That would be terrible.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many little tricks that you can do and get around things, you know. Like I said, I mean, I enjoy mixing, you know. Even with the Anita thing, I really enjoy mixing Anita.
So with Anita, did you tour, or did you tour with Anita? Right? Yeah. Okay.
You know, even though we had our challenges with Anita, but you know, it was fun. It was fun mixing her, and you know, and a great band. And once again, straight live. You know, no sequencers or Pro Tools or anything.
Yeah, because I remember, like, you would let me hear mixes that you had did, and matter of fact, you let me hear a mix, and I'd be like, "Yo, this sounds amazing." You'd be like, "Yeah, I mixed that." I was like, come on." And it was like, you could tell you listen, the way you, and I'll put it to you like this, because it's the same way I try to be as it pertains to, like, whether it's putting together a show or helping in any way. I try to put together shows or approach shows from a fan's perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is it supposed to sound like if I don't play anything? If I know the song on my way to the venue and get to the venue, and now this version, and now granted, there's remixes and all, I get all that. But if you're playing the version of the song I was just listening to on the way over here, and I don't understand it at all, as a fan, I'm going to be pissed off.
Yeah.
So, you know what I'm saying? So as an engineer, it's dope. I don't see why more engineers, music directors, whatever, don't think that way, because it's like, more people paid to get in that place than are actually getting paid from being in that place.
Correct. Yeah.
So it outweighs, you know what I'm saying, where the energy to the people who are here to be impressed.
Right. And you got to remember, the bottom line is, you put the show together for them.
Yeah, 100%.
Not for you.
Yeah.
You know, because if that's the case, put the band, everybody on stage, and put one seat out in the middle of the arena.
Right.
you know.
Right.
But then see how that's going to work with your business manager about getting things paid.
Says we here for us.
Yeah. You know, and that's what it is. It's all about those 12, 15, 20, 30 people, just 30 people.
Yeah.
You know, it's about them that paid for that ticket, you know, that experience for them.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's like, once again, a great engineer can ruin that experience. Yeah. Well, I say a bad engineer can ruin that experience.
Mm-hmm.
And a crazy artist who wants to rearrange their songs to where they're not noticeable.
Yeah.
Until you might get to the hook of the song.
Right.
I was out with an individual that was like that, and it's like, I'm sitting there listening to the song. So what in the hell song is this? Until it got to the hook.
Yeah.
Oh, is that what that's supposed to be? Now, me as an audience member, I'll be pissed off. Because I'm coming here and to sing along to that song that I like.
Yeah.
The regular record version and the radio version. You know, not your new, idea of how you want to flip this song around.
Yeah.
Just because you're tired of doing it.
Right, that way.
The regular way.
They aren't tired of listening to it that way.
Yeah,
Because the record never changes.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it never changes. It's like and I always tell people all the time, there's a difference between arranging a song and rearranging a song. I don't like to rearrange anything.
Right.
If it's put together how it's put together, okay, cool, let's arrange that. When you start rearranging, now you moving this from here, it's just, or you taking everything that's there away and putting something. So it's like that immediately puts you in the phase of trying to please your ego.
That's all it is. With a lot of musical directors, that's all it is.
Yeah.
I could have done this better than Jimmy and Terry. I could have done this better than Babyface. I could have done this better than Jermaine Dupri. I could have done this better than, it's that mindset, and that's why they try to start doing all this different stuff to the song.
Yeah.
Like I said, it was a hit when it was handed to you. When the artist gave you the set list, the song was already a hit in that set list. I don't need you to try to redo what Jermaine Dupri, at a better version of what he did.
Yeah.
Because if that was the case, what he did wouldn't have been a hit.
Absolutely.
And once again, it's like, as a musical director, learn the song, learn the record as it is. You might want to put a breakdown here or a horn hit here, or an accent here. But to go in and just totally change,
from the intro,
right from the start,
It's funny because we used to know we had you when we would get to Joy and Lock In. I would say it in the talk back. I was like, fellas, y'all see Huggy? I was like, we good because all we played, and we did not move. And you was like, that's how y'all play a song.
Yeah.
And then you will say, let's go into Brick House after this.
Most definitely.
And then you would leave out. But that's what I would tell the fellas. I'm like, when you have a person like Huggy who goes off feeling, who knows, it's like we know we're doing something right when we get that reaction. Because he's not looking at us as like, oh my God, like they can really play. You respect what we do. But you're like, they're playing this how it should
be done. Yeah.
And I used to, when you say that, I used to live off that because it came across so clear. And then it actually made our jobs easier.
Yeah. I mean, the whole thing is keeping it simple.
Yeah.
Keeping it simple, people want to dance. People want to sing along to the song. They don't want to try to figure out what's this new calculus you've done to the song.
Right.
They want to sing the song they're used to singing, and grooving to what they're used to grooving to, It's like you don't have to try to show off your musicianship in every song. Just keep it simple. Just let it lay. Just let it lay.
What do you, with how you moving now, and let me ask you this before I ask you the next question. Is mixing something, since that's something you want to do, is it something you plan on going back to soon?
No.
Yeah, I figured that was the answer. It's something you pop out and do, right?
It's something it would have to be an artist that I just really, really, really
got you.
Do. It would be a Gladys.
Yeah.
It would be a Patty. It would be a Anita.
Okay, so let me ask you this. How was it mixing the Prince stuff that you did in those moments? Because I know how you feel about Gladys for sure. But was mixing for him, because that's two completely different styles of music. But the approach that you took and also knowing what type of person Prince is or was, I should say. You know, how was that for you? Like in that moment.
When I started work, I wasn't hired to mix.
Right.
I was hired to do production. And Prince was trying to mix the show himself.
Yeah.
From stage.
Really?
Yeah, he had a mixing console on stage.
Oh, come on, Hug.
No, I kid you not.
So he had one and it was one at the front?
No, there was nothing in the front. There's no mixing console in the front. So take that front of house console, put it on stage. Okay. The side field mix was the same mix that was going out into the main speakers. So people that kind of don't really understand sound, there's a difference to that speaker that's sitting right in front of you on how that kick drum is going to sound, and that speaker that's trying to hit somebody 40 feet away.
No.
You know, sound travels. What happens in your face doesn't actually translate to what's going out 40, 80 feet out into a speaker. And that's a part of it that, I think he understood, but he just didn't give a damn. So his side fields mix would be banging. But when you go out to the house, it's like,
Yeah.
So one day because every night it's like, after a while it's like, yeah, I'm a production engineer, but I'm an engineer. I just can't stand this. So one city we went into, I had them bring in another console, and I built a mix out in front of the house. And he came in, and the thing with Prince, I found that as long as you spoke to him and talked to him, yeah, he could have been a little arrogant sometimes in his ways, but also sometimes he's going to listen. So he came out and I told him what I did. It's like first thing, why my mix isn't good enough. I was like, it's like, well, I just want you, here. So he came out, so the band starts playing. I bring up, my mix. He's listening to it. He said, okay, well, let me hear my mix. I brought up his mix, what he did on stage. He said, okay, let me hear your mix again. I brought it up. Then he looks at me and said, okay, you're mixing the show. And walked off. I'm like, no. I don't want to mix the show. Yeah. I just want to show you the difference because of what you're hearing in the side fields is not translating the same that's going out to the house. Yeah. Even though it's the same mix, but you got different speakers, you got subs, you got different things going on. And he says, that's great for that knowledge. You're mixing the show. And just walked off. And I started mixing after that. I got a kick out of mixing it. Yeah. Because, I tell people, somebody didn't write that many songs for so many years or have so many hits that didn't know what he was doing. And he'll come out to the front of the house and let me hear the kick drum. All he wants to do is just hear one kick, not just like a steady. He just wants to hear one kick. One kick. He got behind the console, starts EQing my kick. I've already EQ'd it.
He asked for one kick, the kick stopped, then he's EQ.
He'll start EQing, and then he'll tell you, okay, kick it one more time. So I had it kick, EQ'd and everything, sounded great. And, he went through this. And then he'll turn to me and says, like, it sounds bad. Fix it, please. And the first time I looked at him, I says, it sounded great at first. You messed it up. You fix it.
You told him that, huh?
Yeah, yes, I did. And he just kind of like, did like this, okay, I get it. Can you help me please fix it? So I got it back in thing, And, with Prince, people are, it's like going to work for Prince, I had a preconception of who he was and how he was going to be. And a lot of that was true when I first met him, in a way. But on the same hand, we got along. Yeah. We talked. And I'll tell you, he'll call me at home when we're not working. He'll call me and we'll talk for half an hour, 45 minutes. Nothing to do about music, nothing to do about his thing, just talking in general. Yeah. And that's what that's what Toshi says. Like, he's lonely. Yeah. Wow. It's like he's got a lot of yes people around him, but nobody just to talk to.
Well, Huggy, if I'm honest, man, you've always given people, and this is even a side note from what we're talking about, you always given people that that comfortability, I guess it would be one of the words you can use, but that being able to sit down and talk to you and be like, even if they don't come out and say, this is what I'm dealing with or whatever, but just somebody to be able to bounce stuff off of that has nothing to do with the reason people know this person. You get what I'm saying? So even for me, like, if I'm honest, like dealing with the drinking, and this is a complete different side of what we was talking about, but hearing how he talked to you, like that was one of the, I knew what I was struggling with. And you would ask me questions, not in a judgmental way. You'd be like, man, you all right today? And in my mind, I'd be like, nah, I'm not. But me, being who I was at the time, I'm like, nah, I'm good. You'd be like, okay, just checking. But the whole just checking used to always play in my head. Even when I walk away from you, I'm like, man, he checked. He knows what I'm dealing with. Not that you knew, but he knows I'm dealing with something. So you always made it comfortable for people to actually talk to, if I'm honest. And even for you to do the things you've done, and I say it's on camera, like dealing with what I was dealing with, and to have you, like you reached out to Tiff. You get what I'm saying? Like genuinely, you reached out. There was a few people that really, really reached out. And I don't blame it on other people because I don't think a lot of people knew how to deal with me in that space. Because I didn't know how to deal with me in that space because that wasn't me. It's like I was always brought up to think an alcoholic was a wino. You know what I mean? Like it was almost like he's the guy in the front of the store with the brown paper bag. That's definitely not what alcoholic is. Alcoholic could be a lawyer, a judge. You know, it didn't matter. And for you to call, you was like, whatever he had. And for me, we had already been close. Like this was in 19 by the time this particular conversation. But we had already been close. But to hear that you called, like, no, we have to get my son some help. Because and for me, man, I broke down. I'm like, because it was just at a place in my life where nothing was making sense, really. You business-wise, it seemed like everything was cool. But even with that, it was just like, I'm not happy.
You know when it finally got to that point was...
Oh, I know. No, say it.
That individual's party. I won't say that individual's name. Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
I don't want people thinking the wrong thing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Again, I had a conversation with somebody about that particular, and we'll talk about it, but it was something, because I know what the feeling of being drunk is. I've been drunk plenty of times. There was something, I just don't know what. But again, I know that was a turn, because it was a turning point for me. It was like, I had no clue who I was that day. And I'm not joking on no level. Huggy, you know how straight ahead I am about the drinking. So even times where I tried to cover it up at certain points, but in that moment, Huggy, I don't know what, I would just sit, everything was in slow motion. And I just remember you coming to the side of the stage. I remember this like it was yesterday. This is actually the last thing I remember. I remember you came to the side of the stage a couple times, then you finally came, you said, get off the drums. And I'm looking like, I mean, you got to think, there were people in the audience who were the A-list. And I'm sitting there like, I looked over, you was like, get off the drums. I was like, all right. I just got up, and that's all I remember.
I forgot who was the tech that ended up sitting playing.
Tiggs.
It was, yeah.
Yeah. That was, yeah. That was when Tiggs said they offered him the job.
No, we didn't offer him the job.
Yeah, I know y'all didn't. I know y'all didn't. But that was one of them cases. I mean, you know, he was there. He got through whatever the last couple of songs. But it was like, for me, that's when I knew, like, Rex, you got to, whatever it was on top of the drinking, if it was just, whatever the case was, that's when I knew. I was like, man, I got to get a whole, and again, doing that whole time, as you always do, you was like, okay, man, we got to figure this out. Even when we was out with Keisha Cole, while I was playing with Dream and Carrie, I was MDing them. I remember that's when it started picking up. And you put me to the side like, you all right? You're doing a lot of drinking. I was like, am I? And this was 2009. So it was like you always saw those moments, but I remember at that party, and like the following week, he was like, man, something's got to give. You got to figure this out. And I think that's when the call happened. You know, when you called Tip, but I had to tell you on camera, man, that meant everything to me, because it had nothing to do with the reason we met. Like, we met because of music, but he immediately grew into something. You know what I'm saying? Like, that meant a lot. So let me ask you this, before, I know you got moves to make. What do you see, what direction do you see yourself going in? Like, because you're going to always, I think, you're going to always have some connection to a lot of people's careers. And I'm talking about a lot of people's, whether it's artists, whether it's just anything dealing with business, not even just music, but where do you see yourself going or moving towards in the future?
Well, it's kind of something that we've been, Toshi and I have been kind of talking about over the last year and a half or so.
Who's one of my favorite people ever? I love Toshi.
It's like, it's that kind of been there, done it, don't really need to do it again kind of mindset. And not to sound morbid, but every day I pick up the phone or I get a text, yo, such and such passed away, such and such passed away. And I start thinking, have I really lived life? And, as we said before, been around the world, I don't know how many times. We were in Paris, with Usher last year for several weeks. Past the Eiffel Tower every day. Out of all the years I've been in this business traveling to Paris, I've never been to the Eiffel Tower.
I can believe that.
Passed by it, but never been, and I think that's something I really want to do.
Wait, you didn't go this time either?
No, it's the same thing. Pass by it.
Wow, yeah.
I think I really want to do a little traveling from a tourist perspective. I want to go back to Japan, and spend some time riding the bullet train, going down to Osaka, Kyoto, which we're talking about possibly trying to do by the end of this year. It's like, the touring, I'm kind of over touring. I really don't want to run up and down the road. Like I said, I'm ready to hand that over to the younger generation, to have them get that experience. I would never get into music management. Just because of the things that I see. And unfortunately, in some cases, what it takes to be a manager, the things that you have to, quote unquote, do for your client, to your client, I guess I just want to hang out, just go do a couple of things I enjoy. Just, go back to, getting back into music again,
Oh, yeah.
Just doing some things like that and just spend the time.
Yeah.
Spend the time with the wife, try to spend some more time with my daughter, which is one of the other things that I regretted. Mm-hmm. And I think I've told you several times about this industry.
Yeah.
That, people that's in this touring world, make sure if you have children, staying in touch, staying a part of their lives, being there as their support system, as they also can be part of your support system. Like I said, that's one of the biggest regrets that I've had, in my life, is not being able to spend the time that I should have spent with my daughter. You use that mindset and that excuse, oh, well, I'm out doing this to be able to keep a roof over your head and clothes on your back and food in your stomach, but still there's nothing more important than being there.
Yeah.
And I've realized that more over the last couple of years than I have her whole life. And just still trying to be, still being part of her life and wanting to be. That's still a tricky situation for us. But we're working on it.
And that's all you can do. And you got to think about it. It's crazy, Hug, because I think about, things you would tell me only to think about you all being out in a time where there was no seeing your family on the phone.
No.
You get what I'm saying? So it's like, it's always like every, decade, whatever, it just seemingly there's something different that adds an extra layer of making it seem comfortable to do. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
But it's like you said, there's nothing that takes away that presence on no level. You know what I'm saying? And then I was telling Swole, you work so long in this area of your life. Nobody comes out the womb wanting to as a man, have a family or whatever. You want one, but that's something you grow into.
Mm-hmm.
You come out the womb or growing into early what you want to do for a living.
Correct.
So it's like you don't think about, okay, I got to take care of this. I got to take care of this. You're like, okay, I want to do that. I want to be a basketball player. You're practicing every day. You're not practicing every day to be a father.
Right.
You're not practicing every day to be a husband, or a friend, anything. You're practicing to do that. So I don't even know if I could have made it. I guess if I was in that generation, I wouldn't have had a choice. But you know what I'm saying? To move around, you go, just think of you was in Paris for 3 weeks or however long. 20-something years ago, you in Paris for 3 weeks. That's a whole different thing.
Mm-hmm.
You not talking like I was calling on Skype, I think, when I first went with Mary. And that was different. It was like, but it was so different. We're in another time zone. So to move how y'all was moving, I know it was much harder.
Very much so. And back then, a phone call cost you a fortune. Sure. Calling from overseas.
Yeah. I remember we first went to Japan. My first time in Japan in 2004 with y'all. And we used to have to go downstairs and get these calling cards.
Right. By
the time, like you said, after a while, the calling card, it was like, man, I'm not wasting that money. But you were gone so long. So I get it. But again, it's always a work in progress. And the only thing we can do is work at it.
Yeah. I mean, that's, as I said earlier, all you can do is give you 100%, and at the end of the day, if that 100% is not good enough, there's no more you can give.
Yeah.
And if a person feels that, well, you're not, we're discussing it, whether that's working out. I never want to be anywhere where I'm not wanted.
Absolutely.
I never want to be anywhere where my worth is not appreciated. But on the same hand, I'm not looking for a pat on the back.
Yeah.
I'm just looking to get the job done and move on to the next thing. But it does feel good every now and then when somebody even just a nod of the head says, good job. Yeah. A lot of times that's what makes it worth it.
Yeah.
And we all look for that every now and then.
We all do, for sure.
But like I said, when going back to, it's like my whole thing is like, I'm really, somebody said, when I took this Usher thing, man, I thought you retired. And I got that from so many people. Mm-hmm. I'm like, where did this start at? I don't remember me saying I was retiring.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I heard that you retired. Oh, it might be because I was with Mary for 19 years and I threw in the towel. That was it, But yeah, I am looking forward to retiring.
Yeah.
what retirement looks like, I don't know. That kind of scares me.
Because you've never not worked.
Exactly. You know, and it's like, for me, my mind is always going.
Yeah.
So for me to sit there and do nothing, it'd be kind of hard.
Yeah.
You know, but I want to, you know, like I said, just be able to just spend time, you know, with the wife and you know, and my daughter and just kind of enjoy life.
Yeah.
You know, because once again, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
You know, that day is going to come. You know.
When you cook, just make sure we're invited. That's all I'm saying. Because I know you got your days where you're like, okay, I'm about to whip this up.
Well, I mean, that's my favorite pastime.
Cooking.
It's cooking.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can't believe that I cook.
Oh, when I first heard, I was like, Huggy, you serious? Then you showed me I was like, Huggy, that's not a meal you just wake up and say, I'm going to try. How long had you liked cooking? Like,
I've always liked cooking.
Really?
Okay. I've always liked cooking.
Got you.
I just didn't do a lot because I was always on the road.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but the more and more time I'm able to be at home, you know, cooking, baking.
Yeah.
You know, I've turned the whole Usher camp out on my lemon Jello cake.
Come on. Are you?
You know.
Wait, you made one out here?
No. We was in Vegas while we was in rehearsals and stuff.
Okay.
You know. So
crazy.
now everybody can't wait for us to go back to Vegas on this tour. We go back for a couple of days.
Yeah.
Listen, I'm not cooking shit. You know. But yeah, I mean, I just want to get back into that. Like I said, you know, cooking, spend that time. You know, getting back into the music again a little bit more. You know, because I look at it, you're never too old to get back into your music.
Mm-hmm.
You know, times might have changed, but I'm still sit there and write what I want to write.
You know, I was hyped when you sent me them tracks. You was like, yo, Rex, I need you to play on something. I was like, Huggy, whatever you got, send it over. Because if that's what you know what I'm saying? You got a certain vibe, a certain ear. So for me, just to see you back in that space, because I wasn't around the Huggy that was in that space. Mm-hmm. So once I knew it was something I was like, okay, yeah, I'm down. I'm 100% game.
Well, I think that was the one good thing that came out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like you're home. What are you going to do? It's drawing on and on. Let me pull the stuff out. Just start playing again. Just see what the hell happens. You know, and I enjoyed that. You know, for that creative part to come back out again. It just put me in a whole different headspace.
Yeah.
Where I got up in the morning looking forward to walking into the room to start writing.
Yeah.
Looking forward to being up until 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning, you know, Toshi banging on the wall. Yeah, cut that shit down.
Right. Absolutely.
Whatever. You know, so, you know, I'm gonna get back into it again, you know. You know, once again, just to be able to enjoy it.
Yeah.
You know.
Is that this? Hold on.
Yeah.
I never heard it go off like that.
What was that, Dave Chappelle? Wrap it up?
Jeez.
You know, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm just looking forward to that. You know, we get through this tour at end of mid-December. December 19th is the last show day. Then he's down until probably beginning of March.
Okay.
Where probably go back into rehearsals for a couple of weeks, and then he does his international dates. We're going to see what happens prior to that, you know.
Well, Huggy, we both know there's a lot of people who want you on their team. But again, like, we at a point, like, we got to start living for us.
Yeah. For
sure. And if what people need from us work within what we need or what we're doing for ourselves, then I think it's cool. But, like, you've definitely put in the work.
Yeah. You know, like I said, I'm always at the other end of the phone.
Yeah.
I'm always at the other end of the Zoom call. For anybody that needs my help or guidance or whatever it might be. Like I said, I just want to go enjoy something now.
Yeah.
And it's weird because for me, enjoy is me sitting in front of my TV at home, binge watching the television series. A lot of people don't know because I don't. Only time I really get to watch TV is when I'm at home. Because most time, even on off days when I'm on the road, I might watch some news. But other than that, I'm, behind the computer doing something.
Yeah.
So just to be able to sit there and watch a series, that's enjoyment for me.
No, that's total relaxation.
Yeah. So, that's, I'm hoping to be here for a little while longer, and just like I said, just go out and enjoy.
It's going to be a lot longer than a little while longer. but I get what you said. I mean, you got the time to, live. Like I said, you deserve it. And like I said, even with this, me asking you to do this, you was like, come on, just tell me what time works. And that's not, friendships like this are really, really rare. So whatever you want to do, I definitely personally think you deserve it. You know what I mean? And I thank you for being everything you've been to us. To go back to something you said earlier real quick, having somebody that you mentored, right here next to you. Huggy, it's so many people that you've done that to without actually having them right here all the time. You get what I'm saying? This is part of what you've imparted into me. So it's there's so much you've done for people. So for real, I want to say I appreciate you. And the fact that you showed up here, man, anytime you need me for whatever, for how long, I always got you in Toshi, man, for real.
Oh, yeah, man. I mean, it's a pleasure doing this. Like I said, it's not something I do often.
Oh, yeah. I know.
So, I always like to be on the other side of that camera.
Yeah.
So, but no, it's enjoyable. I mean, it's when you first sent me the first one,
yeah.
I said, I gotta do this, sooner or later. So it's later and we've done it.
No, facts, no. Well, no, I appreciate you. Listen, y'all, this is another episode of the Untold with who I would call my mentor, my other pops, whatever you want to call it. A guy who helped change this game and life on so many levels for a lot of people. But Michael Huggy Carter, I appreciate you, man.
Thank you very much. I'm not sure when this is going to go out, but if it's before, go out and vote.
Oh, yeah. There we go. We need that because some of my guests definitely won't say that. No, I appreciate you, Hug.
All right, Doctor.
We out.
All right.
Yeah.
Graphic beats.
Untold. This is the Untold. Untold. Please sit back and relax. You want some fries and some glass? This is the Untold. Yeah, yeah.
Graphic beats.
The Untold. This is the Untold.